Hey everybody, we are here today, this time, to look at something different than the normal biology content and screencast. What I wanted to talk with you about today briefly was these things called course recommendations, which has everything to do with, as you can see here at the top, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So we're looking at now moving beyond ninth grade, what's coming up in the future. And this is something that normally, if you're in my class, we spend a good amount of time, at least on one day, talking about exactly what that looks like in terms of science. And given that I was also at the high school for a little bit of time, I usually also can answer some other questions about some of your other courses. But certainly, if you have questions about things relating to English or math or foreign language or social studies, make sure to touch base with those teachers this week if you can. All right. So for teachers, for your ninth grade teachers right now, our recommendations for your courses, which go into PowerSchool and allow for you to schedule and make your sophomore schedule, those are due for us on Friday of this week. All right. So you're going to need to have those conversations between now and Friday. Certainly send emails if you need extra help or if you need something more from me relating to this. But I know I speak for all of us when I say that we all want to make sure that we get you in the right spot so that you can be successful next year when you move up to that bigger school down the road. All right. So in terms of science, a few kind of things that you're going to want to keep in mind. When you think about science in high school and, of course, beyond ninth grade year, because you're already here in ninth grade year, science, like English and math, you have to take and earn a credit in science every single year that you're at the high school. In total, you have to earn 4 credits in a science class. All right. So for most people, that means they take one science course as a freshman, biology. They'll go on and take chemistry as a sophomore, and then they'll go on and take 2 additional science courses that they can choose as a junior or a senior. Now, you don't have to take, I should say, you do have to take at least one per year. If you end up failing a class, like there are some of you that are in kind of jeopardy this year, you're at a risk of potentially failing ninth grade biology. If that happens, and if credit recovery this summer is not an option for you, then you will end up taking biology next year and probably also your sophomore science course, which would be chemistry. You would end up taking both as a sophomore, which for a lot of folks, that can be really tricky because now you're kind of overwhelming your schedule with a lot of academic courses. So like you've heard before, like you would probably imagine, even if not hearing it, it's always better to pass your classes a first go around. And so if you even have the slightest ability to get through this year with, more credits under your belt than you might have right now if the year was over, then I would certainly take advantage of that. So make sure you're doing everything you can to earn those credits so that you're on the right path when you get to that sophomore year. Okay. So this is our kind of flow chart that we use for science. You can see again 10th, 11th, 12th across the top. Required for graduation, you have to have passed biology, you have to have passed chemistry, you have to have passed physics. Sorry, I should say chemistry or physics. For those of you that are in my class right now, almost everybody's going to route through chemistry. And then if you wanted to do physics, if you enjoy math, that would be a good class. If not, there are additional classes that we'll talk about. Okay. So really what you're going to work on and think about in this conversation is what you want to do next year, but I'll also point out some things for you as a 12th grader, okay, and 11th grader. So biology honors is up here in yellow. These are all the kind of course options for them as they move into 10th, 11th, and 12th. And obviously, your options become more broad as you get further and further along. But, ninth grade is just biology 1. Okay, chemistry, like I mentioned, is where most of us will go. Actually, all of us in this class. But in terms of like some other options, so here's biology CP. You can see how different this one is. It's much bigger. And then there's environmental science down here. So if you have any friends in environmental science, their path is kind of already laid out for them, at least through junior year. And then they get some options here as a senior. Okay. But what we use in determining your course recommendations, for me anyway, I spend a lot of time looking at your class grades, and I don't mean like per assignment. So when I'm thinking about, and let me scoot back up here to biology CP, because that's what matters for us. When I'm thinking about course recommendations, I am focused really on your overall biology grade. So biology, your S1, semester 1 biology grade, and also your math grade. All right, because in chemistry, we do a lot of math. And so if you're going to be successful next year as a sophomore, Well, depending upon your math grade, that's going to determine if you go this upper route here and go to Chemistry 1 big CP, or this lower route here, which is Chemistry 1 little CP. All right. In either scenario, you can see kind of what's laid out in front of you beyond that, which are very much the same thing. Okay. So it doesn't really matter which route you take as a sophomore. You can still get to the same end goal if science is something that you're interested in still pursuing. But in terms of the differences of these, so Chemistry 1 CP is kind of the normal route. We will have some folks that are normally, or that were scheduled in ninth grade biology honors that will route down this way. Some of them that maybe struggled. I may have a handful of kids in my CP class right now that I would like to recommend for Chemistry 1 honors, and I'll talk about that. But then I'm going to have probably a majority of my folks that are going to go this route. Okay, so here's what determines the difference. If you are in my class right now, which we are, to get into the bigger CP, here's what I'm looking for. All right, Biology 1, Semester 1, I need to be able to see for you, for your overall grade for me, in your S1 column, I need to have a C or above. So that means a 75 or above in my class for Semester 1 Biology. For algebra, to route this way again, to go this pathway here, this upper pathway, I'm going to look for a B in Algebra 1 for Semester 1, in addition to that C in biology. So in other words, I'm putting more weight on your algebra grade than I am on your biology grade. And again, that's simply based on the type of science that we're looking at here. So if you did not earn at least a B in algebra in that first semester, then you're going to be pushed in this direction down here to this Chemistry 1 little CP. Also, if you did not earn at least a C in my class in semester 1, I'm going to push you in this direction. Now, there are going to be some of you that are kind of borderline, right? Where maybe you got a B in algebra, but a D in biology, right? And so then I'm kind of in between these two. Which route am I going to take? And so for that, I'm going to use kind of my discretion, what I've learned about you, what I know about you and your study habits and your general effort, and maybe your interests outside of biology. Maybe you've told me that you do like science or you want to be involved in healthcare. And in that case, I'll probably push you up this direction. But if you're someone that doesn't like science and you struggled in my class, but you're all right in algebra, chances are I'll probably push you down here to the little CP. Okay, these are both worth the same in terms of your GPA. There's nothing different on your transcript. It'll just show as Chemistry 1 CP. The only real difference will be the pacing, all right, and maybe the depth of content. But for all intents and purposes, this is the same chemistry class, okay? So to reiterate one more time, okay, to go this route to the top, B in algebra or just to be enrolled in geometry, C in my class, and then this route is anything below either of those two things, okay? Now, what I'm going to ask for you to do, though, is I want you to consider what I've talked about, and there is a survey that I'm going to put up on Google Classroom that'll be tied in with this, and I'm going to ask that you go there and you give me your input, especially if you're a digital learner and I don't see you in my classroom on a daily basis. I need to hear from you, all right? So I want you to complete that survey, submit it by Wednesday of this week, on or before Wednesday, all right, so that I can look at those on Thursday and get those recommendations done no later than Friday. If you want to have a conversation with me, I'm more than happy to do that. You need to let me know through that survey, and then I'll deal with kind of that communication piece on Thursday, okay? Last thing I want to mention were some of these other items that are up here. So when we talk about sciences, I mentioned if you either route you take, you're going to have options here as a junior and a senior, and you still do have to take 2 more science classes. So one is a junior and one is a senior. I mentioned that physics tends to be a lot of math. Physics is great if you want to go into something like a STEM type career, like engineering. Any type of healthcare field would be great for physics, but beyond that, if you're not interested in science, I would kind of tell you to steer clear of physics because it can be pretty tricky. Better options for you if you're not interested in doing anything science related, but need to earn these science credits. This crime scene investigations class is probably the most popular science class that's offered, and it's pretty cool because you get to look at things like blood splatter and different types of legal things involving forensics. All right. So if you don't know what forensics is, that would be a cool thing to go in and like Google and look up. But it's all about kind of using science to find people that have committed crimes, right? fingerprinting and DNA analysis and all that cool stuff. So that is one of the easiest science classes also, but then the catch is going to be you can only take it as a junior or senior, right? So that would be one option. All right. The other one would be to say human anatomy and physiology, which is if you like dissections. By the way, if you don't like dissections, do not sign up for that class because they do dissect things. But in human anatomy and phys, they do dissections, and that's also a pretty interesting class. It would be totally appropriate, even if, science is not your favorite thing. It should even be easier than a chemistry class. Beyond that, this biology DE is dual enrollment biology. So that would be basically what you've been doing this year, the same type of content, but it's dual enrollment. So these are one of those classes where you get to get off campus, you travel to Pellissippi, you take the class there with college students at Pellissippi, but then you come back to the high school and you've actually earned some college credits through taking that. There are lots of examples of kids that I could think of that have taken dual enrollment classes and that absolutely love them, right? You get time off from school, you get to get off campus, you get to go to a different setting, which for a lot of folks can be really kind of freeing in a way, right? If you have older siblings that have done that, they can talk to you all about those dual enrollment classes, but they are pretty popular. And so that would be one you might want to consider. All right. To be honest with you, natural science bio 2, I'm not sure exactly what that is. So that's a newer course. I would guess it's going to be just building upon what we are doing in this class this year. All right. So if you're not a fan of biology, I'd say your only real options, CSI, the crime scene investigations, physics, human anatomy, and phys, which is super interesting also. But that'd be kind of where you're at. All right. Okay, so that's what I've got for recommendations. Again, fill out the survey online. Let me know your preferences and let me know if we need to have a conversation about where I tend to put you. Otherwise, those recommendations will be in on Friday and you'll be registering for classes the next week, I believe, with some guidance counselors from the high school. All right, and at that point, if you still need anything from me regarding this, don't hesitate to let me know. Okay, bye, y'all. I will see you later.